Boom, boom, boom. And what happens after boom? Goes the bust. Let's talk about the data, the facts of what that could look like if it does happen.
Hello, sir.
Billy DRURY, the old man in a young man's body. How are you this morning?
I'm good. Although I did have a shocking weekend shopping for moving out of home belongings. And can I say, not only is it a waste of money, but you just get a whole new appreciation for what your parents have done for the last 18 years.
It's only just begun, mate.
It's a shocker. It's not something to look forward to, I'll tell you that much.
You got your insurance, you got your food, you got your... It just keeps going.
And
but it'll be fine.
Yeah, it will be fun. But we're in the midst of World War III here, Mark. And there's a lot of people that are quite nervous. A lot of tension in the air. And we're playing some behind-the-scenes music this morning. Feeding the Ducks is its name. And we're just here to calm people down. Relax.
Raj has sent through a graph and there's something on the news for us. House prices fall in Sydney, CBA predicts.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a huge amount of news. If you just go through a scroll, which I'm sure a lot of people do, Mark. I did myself. And nearly every second article was about the cash rate rising, the economy. There's a lot of speculation. There's a lot of different opinions out there. But this morning, we're on to talk about what a bus
Lisa says I'm echoing.
You're echoing.
Yeah. Give me another. If I'm still echoing, write the message in there again, please. But let's have a chat about this property market. Every single time the interest rates have gone up historically, they've gone up in a raging market. So what I mean by that is people have made a bucket load of money, and then the bank has tried the government has tried to slow the property market down, and then they put rates up. Well, let's not forget about the first half of what I just said. People have made a lot of money. Okay, Billy, you take over with the graph. I'm going to come back in a second. I'm going to cut out and come back.
Okay.
Bye.
All right. So we've got a graph for you this morning to show what's happened in the last 12, 24 months, and then compared to history. I'm going to share the screen now for you, and we are going to talk about it. Okay, here we go. I feel like this is like a little online lesson without Mark. So the last 12 months, there's obviously been huge growth in the market. 22% is what this graph shows. Mark's coming back in. Hello, Mark.
Hey, bud.
We're talking about graphs, numbers. Let's crunch the data.
Let's crunch it. Let's talk about the facts. It's only if I'm still echoing, kids.
I was just saying what's happened in the last 12 months, 22% growth. We haven't seen that since the GFC, since we came back from what people at the time thought was the end of the world.
No, that wasn't the GFC.
2000. Sorry, it's not. I was looking at that one as GFC. But you can see what has happened in the last 12 months compared to the GFC. There's been huge amount of growth in the market. But even when that fell to pieces back then, it eventually came back up.
So I've only ever bought in the peaks as well, which is pretty embarrassing. But when you're selling from peak to peak, you're still double. When you're selling from bust to bust, you're still double. But there you go, guys. Have a look at that. So the first one there was post World War II. Amazing amount of growth. The second one was recession. Just before that, and then you've got 2021 COVID. Okay, now what I want everyone to focus on here when we're reading the data. Have a look at, see how it says see what the 0% is. See that 0%. Anything above that line is growth. That's your flat line there. Think of it like a heartbeat. So anything above the 0% is property prices went up that year. Anything below that 0%, property prices went down that year. So when you have a look at, so the question that's on everyone's lips that we're talking about is, if we where are we going on that graph next year? And then if you have a look at what they did go off that graph, 1950, it went sub 20%, but the year before it was up 111%. It's still up 81% over the 2 years. When you've absorbed the boom and absorbed the bust, still up. So next one. Up how much percent? I can't say that.
29% growth. Yeah. And drop maybe 5, if that. Not a lot.
5 if that. Okay, great. So let's move over to the third example, which is our latest property boom. Up how much in South Wales last year?
We're up 22.
So if you go bust, and you go off the history of the last 2 booms and 2 busts, what do you reckon?
Well, there's a lot more of busting to go before we even get back to breaking even. Put it that way.
Yeah.
Like, the market's got to come off a huge amount. We've seen, maybe buyers' numbers have dropped back. Maybe the market's cooled off or leveled out, whichever way you want to put it. But it's certainly not come back 22%.
Absolutely not. Billy.
You're frozen.
Oh, I'm going to restart again.
Okay. You still there? We've still got you. I'm going to remove Mark. There we go. Okay. So yeah, with 22% growth, it's absolutely nuts to see that this on a chart is almost the third biggest spike in history of what's been recorded on here. Compared to the post World War II, it looks tiny, but against everything else in history, GFC, all the other booms and busts, as Mark said, buying in the peaks, selling in the peaks, you still end up making money. And it's good to see that this it should hopefully clear a lot of doubt or a lot of concern that the market's going to come back and people are going to start losing money again. I think that's the wrong way to look at it. Mark said that a lot of people have made huge amount of money recently. Having second thoughts about interest rates going up, cash rate going up, those are only signs of people trying to slow the market. And the government's only doing this in healthy economic times. It's not the other way around, where everyone's getting slaughtered and then they start killing everyone else with increased fees and things like that. Mark's coming back in. Welcome back. It's getting hard. It's getting hard to hold the show without you. I feel like I'm doing an online lecture.
Mate, it definitely is, but it's hopefully that echo's gone now. So look, all in all, what are we learning here, guys? What are we learning here? We're learning that don't be scared. Interest rates going up is generally always because the economy is strong and we can afford to. If the economy is shitting itself, the interest rates stay level or the interest rates go down. So obviously, if our friends in government aren't confident enough with our economy to put the interest rates up, that's a good thing. Be careful that you're not being scared into fixing your interest rate, because the banks will always win. If you are fixing your interest rate, you are betting against the house, and I can assure you the house always wins. So I reckon our property market, our interest rates, although they will go up, feel good that they're going up if they do go up, because you've made some really, really nice money out of your property. What I mean by that is, we're talking, when you look at this graph, Billy, hundreds of thousands of dollars people are making out of their property.
Yeah. So I thought you were going on with that. Yeah, I was saying whilst you were out, it's good to see that this is the third biggest, spike in or growth in history. And against World War II, it looks tiny, but in relation to everything else people have been worried about over the years, it's just another little up and down, another little blip.
And you can't be greedy. You cannot be greedy. You have to share. And if you want to go and make 21% of your property on a property of $1 million, you just made $200,000. You made $20,000 a month, tax-free if you're living in it, and the interest rates have to go up. Bad luck. It's still bloody good news. It's still bloody good news.
Yeah. Yep. That's it. And don't worry, the market's not come off 20%. I think that's the other big thing to take away from this. There might be signs of it cooling off. That's the phrase I like to use. But it's not come back 20%.
The word I love, it's going back to a balanced market. It was when you had the prices rallying like they did last year, it was so hard to buy a property. It was just ridiculous. But even sellers didn't want to enter the market because they were going to become buyers anyway. So in a funny way, just bear in mind that it's back to a nice, cool property market. It's a balanced property market. It's easier to transact as a buyer. It's easier to transact as a seller. And even if your rates are still going to be going up, potentially if they are, don't worry. It's going to be, it's going to be okay. You know what I mean? Because it always has been. It never really got silly. And I think there's a lot more measures compared to where we were economically 10 or 20 or 50 years ago. We have that by the throat a lot harder these days because of data. Before you had to, for banks to get data to come back on what's happening, they would need a quarter or a year to read the market and read the data, But now everything's so instant in the digital world. There's a lot more controls and measures and infrastructure in place to make sure that financially things are good. So, I'm not. My point is that I'm not scared or I'm not worried about that future when I see that sort of graph of property growth, and I'll see that sort of graph about corrections in the market, and we talk about interest rates.
And let's face it, the response time from government when things really hit the fan has been so good in recent months. They've been able to stand in when things have gone bad, people are out of work. And if this goes the same way and, the interest rates go up and people start defaulting on mortgages, they have time to fix it, Mark. It's like you say, it's a lot more, it's a lot quicker. The data's all there. And their response time is just, hugely different to what it would have been back post-World War II days. Maybe that's why it came back so fast. Who knows?
Absolutely. And it's not fun and it's not roses. Like, we've gone into a massive hole, deficit-wise, owing money-wise. But if you look at if you look at life post the recession, which was that on the graph, and you look at life post World War II, I'm sure it was that same environment, but people do really come together in hard times, and they really do bind and work together. So you've seen that through COVID, that people have been, I reckon, a lot more gentle on each other, a lot more understanding. So I think we're in a nice place to build and mend the country in those those last two booms that we saw. It's good times.
That's it. Do not be scared.
Thanks, guys. Don't be scared. And you know what? Data doesn't lie. Just read that data. And it's not like we haven't done it before. We've been through booms before. We've been through world wars and stuff like that, and huge economy corrections before. And, I think just go back on history.
That's it.
See you guys. Thanks, Billy. See you, mate. Bye-bye.
Ciao.